Thanks for joining us here on the CBN News Channel. I'm Ephraim Graham.
And I'm Charlene Israel. Authorities say the Boston bombing suspects appear to have been motivated by their Islamic faith, but not connected with any Muslim terrorist groups. The new information comes as officials begin questioning the younger suspect, Johar Sarnaev. Heather Sells has the latest.
From his hospital bed, Johar Sarnaev has started to answer questions. He's telling authorities that he built the pressure cooker bombs almost entirely from directions on the internet with no help from terrorists overseas.
I would characterize it as really self-radicalization. I mean, these are individuals who may have some connections overseas, but the primary radicalization is in places like the United States.
Still, authorities believe al-Qaeda and the preaching of radical jihadist Anwar al-Awlaki may have inspired the two. Investigators are looking closely at the older brother, Tamerlan, as the possible brains behind the attack. Of particular interest, his 6-month trip to Russia and Chechnya last year. As CBN's George Thomas recently reported, Chechnya has been a volatile region, a place of numerous clashes between Muslim militants and Russian forces. It's also served as a training ground for militants dedicated to the global jihad. Neighbors say when Tamerlan returned from his trip, his views were more extreme, and he expressed anger about America and Christianity.
He said that the Bible is a cheap copy of the Quran. He said that most American wars are excused with the Bible.
A Boston area mosque also reports outbursts from Tamerlan during services in November and January, where he argued against celebrating American holidays and criticized Martin Luther King. More hard evidence is also emerging against the brothers. FBI court papers indicate that one of them told a carjacking victim, "Did you hear about the Boston explosion? I did that." In the midst of the investigation, Boston is moving on. Hundreds turned out for memorial service Monday for 23-year-old Lindsay Liu, one of 3 killed in the blasts. Of the more than 200 victims, 48 are still in the hospital, but doctors say all are expected to survive. As for the accused bomber, he is being charged with federal crimes that could bring the death penalty. Heather Sells, CBN News.
2 men accused of plotting a terrorist attack against a passenger train that runs from Canada to New York are due in court today. Canadian police took them into custody Monday. They face charges of conspiring to carry out an attack and murder people in association with a terror group. One is believed to be Tunisian and the other is from the United Arab Emirates. Officials say the men planned to derail the passenger train traveling from New York to Toronto under the guidance of al-Qaeda members in Iran. The Iranian government denies any involvement. More than 4 million people use that route every year.
There was a train going from Canada to the U.S., so obviously you would find a number of Americans who are on that.
Officials say the plot had no connection to last week's Boston Marathon bombings.
Liberal talk show host Bill Maher butted heads with a guest recently, taking issue with the guests comparing Islamic extremism with other faiths. Maher was interviewing Brian Levin, the director of the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at California State University at San Bernardino.
Could I just interject? Look, it's not like people who are Muslim who do wacky things have a monopoly on it. We have hypocrites across faiths, Jewish, Christian.
They're not as dangerous. I mean, there's only one faith, for example, that kills you or wants to kill you if you draw a bad cartoon of the prophet. There's only one faith that kills you or wants to kill you if you renounce the faith. An ex-Muslim is a very dangerous thing.
Maher went on to accuse Levin of being wrong about his facts. He said that while all Muslim people are not terrorists, violence is more than a fringe element of the Islamic faith.
No knives, golf clubs, or hockey sticks on planes, at least for now. The TSA is delaying a new policy that would have relaxed the rules about carry-on items. Federal officials say they are allowing more feedback on the change. The ban on those items was implemented to keep terrorists from having tools to hijack planes. But the top TSA officials say they want to free up their people to concentrate on greater threats like bombs. TSA screeners confiscate about 2,000 small folding knives from passengers every day.
Flight delays are piling up around the country. It's because air traffic controllers are being forced to take days off due to budget cuts. Those automatic cuts came as a result of the so-called sequester, when Congress could not reach a deal to trim deficit spending. All Federal Aviation Administration employees are losing one day of their work every other week as a result. But some in Washington say the White House is using air travel as a pawn in a political game. Critics argue the FAA could reduce its budget in other spots that wouldn't delay travelers.
Turning overseas now, after weeks of heightened tensions on the Korean Peninsula, it appears North Korea may be finally ready to talk, but with conditions. George Thomas has the details from Seoul, South Korea.
North Korea says it will only talk to the United States and South Korea if the UN sanctions against the country are dropped. In a statement released by senior military leaders, the North is also demanding that the United States stop engaging in what it calls nuclear war practice. Tensions on the Korean Peninsula have been escalating since early February, when North Korea conducted an underground nuclear test. Since then, the communist regime has threatened to attack South Korea, Japan, and U.S. bases in the region. But there's been a change in the tone of North Korea's rhetoric this week, prompting leaders in the region to be cautiously optimistic. Major newspapers in Seoul, South Korea are talking about negotiations. The North Koreans obviously want the South to apologize before any dialogue can take place. They also want, incidentally, 28 to 30,000 American troops based here in South Korea to exit the country. That may not happen anytime soon, but clearly the tensions have come down. The unknown in all of this is the continuing leadership of Kim Jong-un in North Korea. He is, after all, a young, untested leader. But he has clearly used the last several weeks to play to two audiences: the world community, galvanizing the world community with threats of nuclear attacks, but also the ability to talk to his constituents back home in North Korea as a way to solidify his control over the country and to let those in the country as well as the generals know that he is still very much in charge. It'll be interesting to see in the days and weeks ahead how this all plays out, and whether North Korea will truly come to the negotiating table and talk about potential peace here on the Korean Peninsula. I'm George Thomas reporting for CBN News from Seoul, South Korea.
The government is seeking a 45-year prison term for the man who attacked the Washington, D.C. headquarters of the Family Research Council last year. Floyd Corkins pleaded guilty to assault with intent to kill and committing an act of terrorism. Corkins confessed that he planned to kill as many people as possible at the conservative Christian lobbying group. He wounded a security guard who was still able to subdue him in the lobby. Corkins was mad because of the Family Research Council's opposition to gay marriage.
A new bill working its way through the Senate could affect your online shopping. The bill would give states the ability to require online retailers to collect state and local sales taxes. The state sales tax would then be sent to the state where the shopper lives. Under the current law, states can only require stores to collect sales taxes if the store has a physical location in the state. As a result, many online sales are essentially tax-free. The Senate could pass the bill as early as this week.
President George W. Bush is back in the spotlight as his presidential library is set to open next week, and he has more American support than when he left office. In a new Washington Post ABC News poll, 47% of Americans said they approved of his job performance and 50% saying they disapprove. That approval rating is equal to President Obama's rating among registered voters. Bush had only 33% approval rating just days before leaving office back in 2009. Mr. Bush says history will be the true test of his time in office. All the living presidents will attend Thursday's library dedication on the campus of Southern Methodist University in Dallas.
Coming up, he said homosexuals can change. Now he's stripped of all political rights and could go to prison. The shocking story from Ecuador.
Today we're on a field trip to discover what inflation is doing to our paper money. In this hand is a $20 bill, and in this hand is a $20 US gold coin. They used to have the same buying power, but how much can they buy today? In this first basket is what my $20 bill buys: milk, bread, peanut butter, and jelly. And here's what one $20 gold coin will buy: 6 baskets full, worth nearly $2,000, almost 100 times more food, simply by owning gold dollars instead of paper dollars. History shows that the gold coins have been the best way to beat the rising cost of living. So class, the moral is that unless you want to live on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the future, you should turn some paper dollars into gold coins now. How and why is explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. Call the number below for a totally free copy. And that's the simple truth.
Help! If an emergency happened right now, you can have help at the push of a button with Medical Alert.
Remember when I took that fall, Mary?
Oh, yes, that was terrible.
Yes, it was. Help! And I thought, what if you hadn't been there? I ordered my Medical Alert the next day.
I can't describe how safe I feel now with my Medical Alert. You didn't know I was wearing it, did you?
Medical Alert is easy to install, waterproof, and covers you inside your home and out.
It helps me feel safe from fires, break-ins.
And of course, a Medical Alert. And if you don't have a home phone, don't worry. They have that covered.
There's always help at the push of a button. Don't wait till you need it.
Get Medical Alert for less than $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts. Order now and get your second button free. Call for your free brochure.
For your free Medical Alert system with second button free, call 800-575-8507.
From CBN.
Broken Eardrum is playing at the Civic tonight.
And you'll just have to miss it.
This is so incredibly unfair.
A special story of love and sacrifice.
Joy, Mom comes up with something.
Christopher Quantum, you and I are going to discuss your attitude right this minute. Superbook.
No.
Join the Superbook DVD Club and get Superbook's newest episode, He is Risen. Plus 2 copies to share with others. All for your gift of $25.
They have arrested Jesus, the Messiah. Do you not know that I have the power to crucify you?
No! Please! You can't! They've taken him to Golgotha. We must hurry. Mary is about to lose her son. The worst thing any mother could face. I am not leaving her.
Superbook. It's an amazing way to build a strong spiritual foundation in the children you love.
Mary, who are you looking for?
I've seen him! He is alive!
Superbook. He is Risen. Available now.
An American missionary is missing and believed to be in police custody in China. Dennis Balcom of Hong Kong-based Revival Chinese Ministries International has been missing since Saturday. China Aid Ministry reports Balcom is under house arrest after a raid on a church meeting in Nanyang. About 70 Christians had gathered for a 3-day revival meeting when government agents stormed into the room and began videotaping the service. China Aid says attendees were fingerprinted, interrogated, and required to sign police documents. According to local church leaders, Balcom and 2 of his co-workers were still being held by police when they left. Balcom has been a missionary to China for decades and is regarded as a prime mover behind this early charismatic movement there. China Aid is calling for his immediate release.
2 American legal defense organizations have asked the European Court of Human Rights to hear the case of a Swedish family heavily fined for homeschooling. Alliance Defending Freedom and the Homeschool Legal Defense Association are representing Jonas and Tamara Himmelstrand. They have been fined almost $16,000 for homeschooling their 13-year-old daughter. Sweden has one of the harshest homeschool restrictions in the world. The Himmelstrands were forced to flee to Finland or face criminal charges.
A court in Ecuador has stripped a former presidential candidate of all political rights for saying publicly that homosexuals can change. Now the evangelical politician could be sent to prison for hate crimes.
A month after Ecuador's presidential elections, the Electoral Litigation Court stripped former candidate Nelson Zavala of all political rights. The evangelical pastor, who represented the Roladista Party in last February's elections, may not vote or serve in any public office for an entire year. The court also fined Zavala more than $3,000 for his comments about homosexuals.
This landmark case should cause the Ecuadorian people to reflect on fundamentalist and reactionary public speech.
According to the prosecution, Zavala spoke against the community of gays, lesbians, bisexuals, transgenders, transsexuals, and transvestites. Here's what he said in a television interview.
When the government is incapable of solving the problem of homosexuality, it simply legalizes it. Okay, I understand. But as Christians with 112 years of history in Ecuador and 2,000 years on earth, we have shown over and over that homosexuality can be changed. Today, in our churches, there are pastors who used to be homosexuals.
The candidate's sentencing prompted celebrations in the homosexual community. Zavala also faces a possible prison sentence of up to 3 years for committing a hate crime.
Full protection is granted to minority groups, but we are seeing that somehow they are not being totally fair to us, the representatives of the church in our country.
Zavala plans to appeal his conviction. John Wagi, CBN News.
Up next, militant Muslims have threatened to kill a man because of this exclusive videotape and pictures he shot. Find out what these pictures reveal.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
An Iraqi pastor imprisoned for nearly 2 years is free due to the efforts of a U.S. ministry and an Oklahoma senator. Abdi Ali Hamza, better known as Pastor Jamal, spent 21 months in prison. Jamal is a Christian who converted from Islam and has been working to spread the gospel in northern Iraq. He worked with U.S.-based World Compassion to distribute food to refugees. World Compassion's Terry Law met with officials in northern Iraq carrying a letter from Oklahoma Senator James Inhofe requesting Jamal's release. Eventually, President Massoud Barzani of the Kurdish regional government granted Jamal amnesty. Jamal is now in a safe place receiving trauma counseling and medical attention. Once again, a wave of deadly Islamic persecution has been unleashed against Christians, this time in the African nation of Tanzania.
And some pastors have already paid for it with their lives. Gary Lane brings us this chilling story from Zanzibar.
Tanzanian Christians are growing and witnessing a new unity, but Christians have paid a painful price.
I burst into tears and shouted, my Jesus, why have you forsaken me?"
That was Generosa Kachila's reaction when her neighbors stormed in with nightmarish news. In February, a Muslim mob brandishing machetes murdered Generosa's husband, Pastor Matteo Kachila. The brutal attack occurred as the pastor walked to the home of a friend. The motive? Anger grew after Christians began butchering and selling meat. The lucrative business traditionally belonged to Muslims, who prepare it in their religious way known as halal. In his last few breaths, Pastor Mateo identified his killer. Ezekiel Meshach says the pastor told him it was a neighbor named Abdullah.
I was not surprised because just before the attack, I saw Abdullah leaving the mosque carrying a machete. He grew a long beard and often wore pants and a vest that resembled those worn by Taliban fighters.
Locals believe Abdullah fled to neighboring Burundi. Victor Lagala is also on the run, but not for committing murder. Militant Muslims threatened to kill him because he videotaped the riot, capturing their images on camera. Lagala also visited the local morgue and shot exclusive photos and video of the deceased pastor's wounds. They are too graphic to show without blurring the images.
I was highly affected by seeing the pastor killed in that way because he was a fellow Christian, and I didn't have any power to rescue his life, but only to watch events unfold. I have known him for a long time. I want the whole world to learn what has happened to our country, so nothing like this will happen again.
And it's not just Protestant pastors that are facing these threats. Catholics are also being targeted. Last February, Father Everest Moshe was coming here to celebrate Mass at this church. He was gunned down about 10 meters from here. Sister Maria Gaspara says Father Moshe was a kind and loving man who possessed a good sense of humor.
Devoted to his work, he loved Jesus.
Some Tanzanian Christians say Father Moshe's murder proves the goal of Islamic extremists is to target church leaders.
This is a long-term plan of Islamizing the whole of the Tanzanian nation. Islamic leaders have urged Muslims to come together to attack, fight, and kill bishops, priests, and pastors.
Anglican Bishop Michael Hafide was among those targeted. He says many Zanzibarian Christians are afraid.
We are sometimes strong, but we are human beings. Fears is coming sometimes. They don't know tomorrow what's going to happen for me or for another one. I tell my congregation to be don't afraid of anything. God guide us.
And widow Generosa Kachila believes God is with her and her 12 children. She trusts He will provide for them. She says God has a greater purpose in Mateo's death.
I believe God knew Mateo's destiny, and no matter how he lived, it was necessary that he go through this so that it would be a lesson to the remaining people, but also so the Lord can harvest into His kingdom.
And while the recent deaths of these faithful pastors now leave even fewer laborers, Tanzanian Christians say they are ready to follow their example and reap a bountiful harvest. Gary Lane, CBN News, Zanzibar.
Certainly need to pray for that area.
And I tell you, when they say God has not given us the spirit of fear, those people are truly living it.
They're living the gospel, definitely.
Indeed. Well, still to come, it was a moment that shook the nation.
That's right. However, how prayer prevented a historic disaster in America's space program. We'll be right back.
When you're driving along and your cell phone rings, do your eyes instantly go off the road? Then you need to get a grip. Hi, David Jones here with the new GripGo, the most versatile hands-free mount that will instantly grip any phone for safe driving. Just attach the suction cup to your windshield or dash, and GripGo grabs your phone ultra fast. Then it peels right off. And don't worry, there's no sticky residue left behind. The 360-degree pivoting mount allows you to always get the perfect viewing angle. It's even strong enough to grab and hold this expensive smartphone out the window. Yet it comes right off with ease. That's the advantage of GripGo. You can get the amazing GripGo with dashboard mount for only $14.95. We'll send you a second kit free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Get 2 complete GripGo systems for just $14.95.
To order GripGo for $14.95 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-709-5259 or order online at getgripgo.com.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
America has been rocked by tragedies over the past few months. From the Sandy Hook massacre to the Boston bombings, many have turned to prayer for the victims, their families, and our nation.
That's right. Well, last week also brought the anniversary of an amazing event that had people praying across the country. The survival of the crew of Apollo 13 is just one reminder of how God answers prayer. Take a look.
On July 16, 1969, Apollo 11 blasted off from Cape Kennedy for the first mission to send men to walk on the moon. Didn't President Richard Nixon call the nation to prayer?
Right. Oh, he definitely called for prayer. Matter of fact, he made a phone call from the White House to the moon, and he said this has got to be the most historic phone call that's been made from this office. And but then he tells the astronauts,
for one priceless moment in the whole history of man, all the people on this earth are truly one. One in their pride in what you have done, and one in our prayers that you will return safely to earth.
Those prayers were answered. Then about a year later, on April 11, 1970, Apollo 13 was launched. Before making it to the moon, the astronauts sent this iconic message.
Houston, we've had a problem.
An oxygen tank had exploded, severely damaging their craft. The astronauts had limited power, they lost cabin heat, and they were running low on water, which was used for equipment cooling and drinking. Dangerous levels of carbon dioxide were also building. There were people praying all over the world. Didn't the Pope pray, and weren't they interceding for our mission?
they have prayer at the Chicago Board of Trade, at the Vatican, at the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem, and President Nixon has a day of prayer in America for the astronauts.
It was clear that God's guidance and wisdom was with the astronauts. First, they jury-rigged the carbon dioxide removal system and jump-charged the command module batteries. Then they made manual burns to correct their course and send them towards Earth. On April 17, 1970, they entered the Earth's atmosphere and splashed down in the South Pacific.
They are manually guided to land near a hurricane that's raging, and they're all rescued. Nixon said, more of us have prayed this last week than have prayed in a long time, to show that, as Americans, we always turn to God in times of crises. And so we have this tradition in America that when there's a crisis, we cry out to God.
History-changing prayers for
I
sure.
tell you, I
Powerful.
love it. It's a great story. Great
Excellent story, definitely. Well, that's going to do it for the CBN News Channel. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com.
And tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Have a terrific Tuesday, everybody.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.